Hey, welcome back to the channel. I've got a fresh batch of Reddit chaos lined up for you today, while I keep working on my little base. Nothing like some soothing Minecraft sounds in the background, while we unpack people making the worst decisions imaginable. Before we begin, just a quick shout out. Thank you to everyone who has been watching and commenting beneath the video. I'm grateful to everyone who has taken their time and letting me know that they enjoy this type of content. I'm going to keep trying my best to help you guys relax and unwind while we dive into the craziest Reddit drama of the internet. Now let's start with a wild one. Your own sister. Sleeping with your ex on your birthday. I don't care what kind of family dynamic you've got. That's low in ways that don't even have a name yet. And the worst part, she didn't even try to deny it, just doubled down like it was no big deal. They basically wrote the script for their own downfall and still couldn't read it. You'd think betrayal like this would come with a whisper, but nope, it showed up loud, proud, and in heels. And trust me, the fallout, it's just getting started. Let's get into it. It was my 26th birthday, and I'd spent weeks planning a cozy backyard get-together with a few close friends of my family. Nothing crazy, just food, drinks, music, and the kind of mellow vibes I'd been craving after a brutal year. My sister, who I'll call Tessa, helped set up balloons, picked up the cake, and even brought a few bottles of my favorite wine. Everything felt good, chill, normal, until he walked in. Yep, my ex, the same ex I had broken up with 6 months earlier after a long, draining, on-again, off-again situation. The kind of breakup that doesn't end with closure, just exhaustion. I wasn't even mad at him anymore. I was just done. We hadn't spoken since, so when I saw him walk into my parents' backyard, holding a solo cup and smiling like nothing had ever happened, my brain short-circuited. And the cherry on top, he didn't just show up, he was invited by my sister. At first, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a weird oversight. Maybe he showed up uninvited and she didn't want to make a scene. So I pulled her aside, casually, and asked, "Why is he here?" Her response? A shrug, and, "I thought you guys were cool now. He asked about you and said he missed hanging out." That should have been a red flag, but I was trying to have a good time. So I smiled, walked away, and kept sipping my drink. Big mistake. About halfway through the party, I realized both of them, my sister and my ex, were suddenly gone. Not a word, no goodbye, just vanished. I checked the side yard, the kitchen, even the front of the house in case someone needed a ride. Nothing. They were missing for over an hour. I tried not to spiral. Maybe they were just catching up. Maybe it wasn't as weird as it looked. Except that it was. I knew in my gut that something was wrong. But I pushed it down, cut the cake, thanked everyone for coming, and went home feeling like I'd missed something huge, like I'd just gotten played and didn't know how. But that wasn't even the worst part. 2 days later, I dropped by my parents' house to pick up some leftover decorations and dishware. And that's when it happened. I was walking past the guest room, the one right off the hallway, where my sister usually stays when she visits, and I heard movement. Then, clear as day, I saw my ex walking out of the room shirtless, shoes in hand. I froze. He froze. We locked eyes for maybe 2 seconds before he muttered, "This isn't what it looks like," and bolted down the hall like a cartoon character caught in the act. I turned and saw my sister sitting on the edge of the bed, grinning like a smug little fox in a hen house. No shame, no apology. Just this look like, well, now you know. I asked her what the hell was going on, and she said, "We've been talking for a few weeks. There's real chemistry. You and he were never meant to last. You need to let go of the past." Let go? Let go of what? The betrayal? The fact that she brought him to my birthday like it was a joke? That she waited for me to leave just so she could play house in our childhood guest room? I honestly don't even remember what I said next. I know my voice was shaking. I know I called her out, told her how messed up it was. Her response? Life's messy. Get over it. And here's where it gets absurd. I thought my parents would be furious. I mean, how could they not be? Your daughter sleeps with your other daughter's ex on a birthday. That's not just drama. That's discount soap opera material. But nope. My mom gave me that passive aggressive mom voice. It's not ideal, but people make mistakes. Don't throw away your relationship with your sister over a boy. My dad, silent, said it wasn't his place to get involved. They called it messy but not unforgivable. Unforgivable? Are you kidding me? You saw it happen in your house, and your response is to tell me to move on? The next few weeks were a blur. My sister kept texting like nothing had happened. My mum kept sending vague family group chat messages like we were just going to pretend the whole thing didn't go down. My ex? Radio silence, obviously. I made my decision when the Christmas invites went out. I declined. And not just declined, I told them exactly why I wouldn't be showing up. I wasn't going to play pretend at the dinner table while my sister made googly eyes across the mashed potatoes at the guy she stole from me. Nope. I cancelled Christmas. For myself, anyway. They can keep playing house if they want to. But I'm out. And honestly, I haven't spoken to either of them since. No texts, no calls, no updates. The last I heard, they're seeing where it goes. I hope it goes far, like far away from me. If you've made it this far into the chaos, you're as addicted to Reddit drama as I am. Make sure to subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Now let's get back into the firestorm, because if you thought that was bad, wait until you hear how an entire husband's family tried to replace his wife with his ex. Yeah, buckle in. My husband's family never liked me, and I'm not talking about vague, cold shoulder energy. I mean, they were actively hostile. His mum once joked that I was too independent for a family woman, and his sister gave me a self-help book on fixing emotional walls for my birthday. So yeah, subtlety was not their strong suit. I mostly kept my mouth shut for the sake of peace, because my husband, let's call him Evan, was always supportive. He told me I didn't need to prove anything to them. He said it'd get better with time, and like a fool, I believed him. Then came Christmas. Evan's family has this tradition where they all meet up at their lake cabin. Big meals, firewood, matching pajamas, the whole Hallmark movie setup. I wasn't exactly looking forward to it, but I packed my suitcase and told myself, just smile and get through it. You know, be the bigger person. When we arrived, everything seemed normal. His mum greeted us with her usual fake smile. His sister gave me the air kiss and judge combo, and I headed upstairs to put our bags in the usual guest room. But when I opened the door, I stopped dead. There was already a suitcase in there, a pink monogrammed suitcase I recognized immediately, because it belonged to his ex. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was someone else's. One of the cousins, maybe. But then I heard her laugh from downstairs. That high-pitched, over-perfumed laugh that used to haunt my early dating days when Evan's family would still casually mention how sweet she was. Yep, she was here. At Christmas, in the cabin, and apparently in my room. So I went downstairs and pulled Evan aside, trying not to make a scene. I asked, as calmly as I could, "Why is your ex here?" And this man, I swear to you, had the audacity to say, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Mom invited her, said it would be good for the family." Good for the family. I asked him why he didn't say anything beforehand, and he had the nerve to shrug and say, "I figured it wasn't a big deal. You're secure. She's just a family friend now." Oh, so we're doing that Now, he tried to convince me that it was just a miscommunication, that she must have put her bag in our room by mistake. But she'd been assigned it. His mum put her in that room and just didn't make space for me. No heads up, no apology, and here's where it gets absurd. That night, I barely slept. I stayed quiet at dinner, smiled politely while his ex reminisced about old memories like I was some hired extra at my own relationship's funeral. No one stopped her, not even Evan. They just laughed along. The next morning, I went downstairs to get coffee and noticed a new picture frame on the mantel. A family photo. I did a double take. It was a shot from the previous Christmas, but something was off. I moved closer and my stomach dropped. There, standing next to Evan, where I had been, was his ex, photoshopped into the picture. Like, not even subtly. They'd done a full swap, erased me completely and dropped her in with that same creepy magazine cover smile. They'd literally tried to edit me out of the family history. That's when everything unraveled. I didn't even say goodbye. I walked upstairs, packed my bag, and left. No yelling, no drama, just walked right out the front door, got in the car, and drove off. I didn't even make it home before the text started rolling in. His mum messaged me something like, "You overreacted. This was supposed to be a joyful holiday. You made it awkward." Oh, I'm sorry. I made it awkward? Not the woman who replaced me with her favorite ex-girlfriend like I was a failed temp? Evan called me later, said he didn't understand why I'd blow everything out of proportion. He said I embarrassed him by walking out. No mention of the photo or the room or how his ex kept rubbing my leg under the table like it was a TikTok prank. I told him if he wants to date his mum's dream girl, he can go ahead and marry her too. I'm not playing second string to someone his family clearly never let go of. And here's the kicker. He still tried to spin it around like I was the problem. Like I was insecure, jealous, not chill enough. As if being replaced literally, digitally, emotionally at a family gathering is just an unfortunate oversight. You almost have to admire the audacity. We separated a few weeks later. His family never reached out again, not even to fake apologize. And him? He moved in with a friend. I don't know if the ex is still around, and honestly, I don't care. Because if being part of the family means being erased from every photo and memory like I never mattered, then yeah, I'll pass. Speaking of family betrayal, wait until you hear about the brother who stole a $50K inheritance and blamed his own parents. It's worse than it sounds. My grandmother was one of the few people in my family who actually saw me. You know what I mean? She didn't just nod and smile at the surface level stuff. She listened. She remembered my favorite snacks, my weird childhood obsessions, and that I liked quiet over chaos. So when she passed, it wrecked me, even though we'd all seen it coming for a while. She'd been sick, but she went peacefully. No drama, just sleep. Her will was simple, split evenly between her two grandkids, $50K each. Not life-changing, but more than enough to finally pay off my student loans and stop living paycheck to paycheck. She always said she wanted me to feel free. Not rich, or she'd say, just free enough to breathe without guilt. That money meant a lot more than just dollars. So I waited for the lawyer to call. Weeks went by, then a couple months. My parents told me to be patient. These things take time. But when I followed up, the estate manager said the funds had already been transferred. Transferred, as in, gone. I double-checked. Maybe it went to the wrong account. Maybe there was a delay in notifying me. Nope. The bank confirmed it. The money had been moved, except it wasn't to my account. It went to one with both my grandmother's and my brother's names on it, which was weird because she never had a joint account with anyone, ever. That was my first real red flag. So I started digging, quietly. I requested a copy of the will, which still listed both of us as equal beneficiaries. I requested the final statement from the account and saw it, plain as day, a transfer from her estate to a joint account created a month before she died, with her name and my brother's. It didn't take a genius to put the pieces together. He'd gotten her to open a joint account, and as the surviving account holder, he got everything the second she passed. That's not inheritance. That's manipulation with paperwork. So I confronted him. I drove to his place, sat down at his kitchen table, showed him the printed statements, and asked him to explain. At first, he played dumb, said he had no idea what I was talking about, that maybe the lawyer messed up, that I was confused. Then I showed him the account creation date. That's when things went off the rails. He said, "Grandma wanted me to have it. She told me you'd be fine, that you didn't need it as much." He tried to spin it like it was some noble act, like she'd entrusted him to use it for the good of the family. But the thing is, I know my grandmother. She wouldn't do that. She was meticulous about fairness. She even split her recipe book down the middle between us. So I took the documents to my parents, and here's where it gets absurd. I laid everything out. I explained the situation. I showed them the dates, the account numbers, the signature logs. It wasn't even subtle. But instead of getting angry at him, they turned on me. My mum said, "Why would you go digging through Grandma's finances like that? It's disrespectful." My dad said, "Even if what you're saying is true, it's done now. You can't just undo everything. You're being selfish." Selfish. For wanting what I was legally owed. My brother sat there during the whole conversation, fake crying. I'm talking actual crocodile tears. At one point, he wiped his eyes and said, "I just did what Grandma asked. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I feel so attacked right now." And somehow, that worked. They believed him, or at least they pretended to. Because I think deep down they knew exactly what he did, but they didn't want to deal with the fallout. He's always been the golden child, the one who messes up and still gets a round of applause for trying. So when I said I was going to get legal help, they lost it. My dad actually stood up and said, "You're going to sue your own brother over money?" And I said, "It's not about the money. It's about what he did. It's about Grandma's wishes." My mom shook her head like she couldn't even look at me. Then came the guilt trip. Family doesn't take each other to court. Grandma would be heartbroken. Right. Because I'm the one breaking hearts, not the guy who literally rewrote her financial legacy behind everyone's back. The cherry on top? My brother told extended family that I had pressured Grandma in her final weeks to change the will. That I was trying to scam him out of his money. He flipped the whole story and people believed him because he got to them first. I genuinely thought this couldn't get worse. I was wrong. Now I'm the black sheep, the greedy one. I got uninvited from Thanksgiving, then Christmas. My aunt sent me a DM that just said, "I don't know what's going on, but this isn't you." And I didn't even bother replying, because apparently no one wants to know what's actually going on. They just want peace, even if it's built on a lie. I did speak to a lawyer. Turns out fighting a joint account after death is incredibly hard, especially without written proof of coercion. It would cost more than I'd probably recover. I had to let it go, legally at least, but emotionally, I'll never forget it. And somehow I'm the one who got pushed off the platform. So yeah, my brother stole my inheritance, lied about it, got away with it, and made me the villain in the process. But sometimes karma doesn't wait, like when a coworker tried to get someone fired and got himself caught red-handed. That one's coming up next. You're gonna love how it ends. Tom wasn't just annoying. He was the kind of coworker who weaponized professionalism. You know the type. Always just looping you in, always double-checking for alignment, always CCing managers on every little thing. Like he's auditioning for Employee of the Month at a company that doesn't even give out plaques. At first, I thought he was just being overly thorough. We were assigned to the same client project, so I figured some overcommunication came with the territory. But then little things started going wrong. I'd send in reports that were perfectly fine, only for my manager to follow up asking about missing data or formatting issues. I'd double check the file I sent, and it looked great, clean, on time, accurate. But somehow the version that ended up in the meeting folder was all kinds of messed up. At first, I thought I was losing it. Then came the concerned emails. You know the kind, the ones that sound polite but are secretly stabbing you in the back. Hey, just wanted to flag a few issues I noticed in OP's report. Not a big deal, just trying to make sure the client gets the best version. Oh, and always CC'd to management, every single time. I started triple checking my documents. Still, the mistakes kept appearing. Then, during a weekly sync, my manager casually asked if everything was okay at home, because my work seemed a little distracted lately. That's when I knew something was up, because my personal life was fine, and my work still solid until it landed in the hands of someone else. That someone was Tom. Turns out, we were sharing access to the same document folders, and I had never noticed the subtle edits happening. After I submitted my drafts, formatting accidents, deleted data rows, comments that looked like I'd added them, but weren't mine. And every time it happened, he was the one pointing it out. Like clockwork, it felt like gaslighting, but corporate. I didn't want to make wild accusations without proof, so I played it quiet. Smiled in meetings, nodded in syncs, kept feeding him exactly what he expected, just enough for him to think I was still oblivious. Meanwhile, I started building my trap. I'm not a developer, but I am tech savvy enough to write a script, a basic version tracking setup that would log every change made to our shared project folder, who made it, what they changed, and when. It ran silently in the background, nothing flashy, just a neat little log that timestamped every single move. And guess what? Within 3 days, I had him. Dead to rights. He edited one of my reports at 2:16 a.m., the night before a major client call. Changed the spreadsheet formulas to break all the totals, then flagged it to management first thing in the morning, complete with a "just wanted to double check this" email. The next time it happened, I let it sit, waited, gathered a week's worth of logs. Then, once I had a neat, tidy little folder full of screenshots and timestamps, I sent one very polite email to HR. Subject line, documentation of ongoing sabotage from colleague. That kicked off a full investigation. HR didn't reply with a canned "thanks, we'll look into it." They called me immediately, asked for a meeting the same afternoon. Apparently, this wasn't Tom's first brush with sketchy behavior, just the first time someone had the receipts. And here's where it gets absurd. When they called him in, he doubled down, said I must have hacked the system to frame him, claimed I had a personal vendetta and was spreading lies to cover my own underperformance. He even tried to bring up old emails that had nothing to do with the current project, just to throw mud. Imagine being this confidently wrong. But my documentation, ironclad. Dates, times, version logs, access reports. They brought in IT, verified everything. Game over. 2 days later, he was gone. Fired. Clean sweep. Security escorted him out during lunch while he was mid-sandwich. I didn't even get to see it. Someone from sales told me, grinning like he'd just watched a live episode of Succession. And me. I got a quiet little email from my director. Appreciate your professionalism throughout this process. Would you be open to stepping into a lead role on this account? Yup. Promotion. Raise. A new title on Slack. And now, the poetic cherry on top. I'm training his replacement. I wish I could say I didn't take a little joy in it, but I did. Just a little. His chair is still there, by the way. Empty. They haven't reassigned it yet. Every time I walk by, it's like the ghost of corporate sabotage. Past is silently watching me succeed. Corporate drama is brutal, but what if your own mother betrayed you instead? Yeah, the next story is rough. Let's get into it. I grew up in a small two-story house with chipped paint, creaky stairs, and a backyard so overgrown it looked like a mini jungle half the year, and I loved every inch of it. That place wasn't just where I lived, it was the backdrop to my whole childhood. First bike ride, first scraped knee, the tree I used to read under, the weird little nook in my closet I called a fort. It all lived there. The house was never fancy, but it was ours, and my mom always said it would be mine someday. She said that a lot growing up. When I'm gone, the house is yours. Or, don't worry about the future. You'll always have this place to come back to. It was kind of her thing, and I believed her. So when I left for college, I didn't stress too much about housing long term. The plan was to finish school, get a job, and then move back into the old place. Fix it up, maybe modernize the kitchen, repaint my room. I had Pinterest boards, I had floor plans sketched out. It wasn't just a dream, it felt real. But that all exploded with one Zillow notification. I wasn't even looking for new listings. I was helping a friend browse, and there it was. A familiar street name, my street. I clicked the link and my stomach dropped. It was my childhood home. Listed. For sale. No heads up. No, hey, just so you know. Not even a text. I found out from a real estate website. I immediately called my mum, thinking maybe it was a mistake, or maybe she listed it with some testing the market nonsense. She picked up on the second ring, totally casual. Hey, sweetie, I said, why is the house on Zillow? And this woman, this actual villain in a cardigan, just said, oh, yeah, I meant to tell you. I needed the cash more than you needed nostalgia. I literally went silent. For a full 5 seconds, I thought I'd misheard her. Then she sighed, like I was the one being difficult, and launched into this whole speech about how she was getting older, and the house was too much maintenance, and it didn't make sense to cling to the past. She said she'd gotten a cash offer, and that the deal was already halfway done. I asked her why she didn't tell me. She said, and I quote, I knew you'd get emotional, and honestly, you're a little entitled about this whole thing. Entitled. For expecting the thing she literally promised me for 20 years. That's when everything unraveled. I told her this wasn't just a house, it was the house, the place I grew up, the one constant I had when everything else was changing. My dad passed when I was young. We moved once after that. This was it, and she tossed it away like it was some unused kitchen gadget she found during spring cleaning. She didn't care. She just said, you'll make new memories somewhere else. Like it was that simple. And then, just to really twist the knife, and she said, besides, you're still young. You'll thank me later for forcing you to move on. Who says that? I didn't thank her. I didn't say anything else. I just hung up and stared at the listing again. Someone had already done a walkthrough and taken glossy stage photos. My bedroom had been stripped of personality. The backyard tree had been trimmed down to a stub. The fort closet? Gone. 2 weeks later, the house was sold. She used the money to buy a modern condo closer to downtown. Granite countertops, balcony with a view, HOA fees, the whole thing. She sent me pictures like I was supposed to be impressed. I didn't respond. Because how do you respond to someone who erases your childhood and then calls you selfish for caring? It's not even about the money. I don't care that she sold it. I care that she lied, kept it from me, and then acted like I was the problem when I found out. And here's the kicker. A few months later, she emailed me a video tour of her new place with a note that said, can't wait for you to visit. Like everything was normal. I haven't replied. I haven't called. I didn't go home for the holidays. I don't even know if she noticed. Because I think, deep down, she never saw the house the way I did. To her, it was just property. to me. It was safety. It was home. Now it's someone else's, and she lives in a condo funded by every memory I wasn't ready to let go of. Speaking of betrayal, wait till you hear how one sister ruined an entire engagement with just one text. Yeah, this one spirals fast. My sister had been engaged for 6 months when I decided to make her a surprise wedding slideshow. You know, one of those cute photo montages with childhood pics, goofy moments, and cringy throwbacks. The kind that plays during rehearsal dinner and makes everyone cry. I thought it would be a sweet gesture, something to show how happy I was for her. Spoiler alert, I wasn't the one crying by the end of it. While I was digging for photos, I figured I'd collect some newer ones too. Shots of her and her fiancé together, vacation pics, cute couple selfies. So I went to his Instagram, which I never really paid attention to before, and started scrolling. That's when I noticed something weird. His account was suspiciously clean, like barely any posts, a few generic photos of food, cars, and one blurry sunset. None with my sister, not one. Which was odd considering she constantly posted about him, like full on, I love this man with my entire soul, level captions. And he didn't even have one post of her? Weird. So I got curious. I searched his username and tried some variations. You know, add a number here, a middle initial there, and boom, there it was. A second account. Private, but not that private. Same face, same guy, totally different vibe. His bio had a heart emoji and a girl's initials, not my sister's. Okay, maybe it was old, maybe he forgot to delete it. I requested to follow the account using my spam backup just to see. Didn't expect a response, but he accepted within 10 minutes. That's when everything unraveled. This second account was full of photos, him and another girl. Vacations, matching Halloween costumes, brunch dates. One photo was literally captioned, "Can't wait to make you my wife." I scrolled until my thumbs went numb. They'd been together for years. As far as I could tell, he was living two lives, one with my sister, one with this mystery girlfriend who clearly thought she was the one getting married. And here's where it gets even more twisted. The timelines overlapped fully. There were posts of him with that other girl in Cabo. During the same weekend, he told my sister he was at a work retreat. He wasn't even trying that hard to hide it. He just assumed no one would ever think to check. I genuinely thought this couldn't get worse. I was wrong. One photo had them in front of a cake that said, "She said yes," with her hand on his chest, wearing a ring, a completely different ring. He was engaged to her too. I sat on that information for a full hour, just staring at the screen, trying to figure out how to break this without completely wrecking my sister's life. She's always been a hopeless romantic, the kind of person who journals her first dates and makes Pinterest boards after the second. Telling her this wasn't just about ending an engagement. It was about burning the fantasy she'd spent years building. But I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't be the person who knew and said nothing. So I made a folder, screenshots, side-by-sides, captions, timestamps, and I sent it in a group chat with just me, my sister, and him. No intro, just thought you both should see this. His response, silence. My sister, she called me, screaming. Not at me, just raw panic, confusion. She kept asking, "Is this a joke? Is that photoshopped? Are you sure it's real?" I told her I wish it wasn't. He didn't respond for over a day. And then he messaged her saying, "It's not what it looks like. I was going to tell you." Oh, okay. So that's the defense we're going with? She blocked him on everything, cancelled the wedding immediately. Dresses, deposits, venue, all of it. She didn't even cry until day 3. She was just in shock. Meanwhile, I reached out to the other girl. I figured she deserved to know too. I sent her a message from a burner. Just so you know, your boyfriend is also engaged to someone else. Attached the screenshots. Didn't expect a reply. She blocked me instantly. Ghosted the whole situation. Honestly, I think she already knew and didn't want to face it. 2 weeks later, he moved states, literally picked up and left like this was some Netflix thriller and he could just start over somewhere new. My sister's doing better now, by the way. She's not dating yet, but she's gotten into pottery and started therapy. Says she dodged a bullet. Me? I finished the slideshow. Just for her. No fiancé needed. One breakup at a time, right? Except some bosses don't take rejection very well. That's next. And yeah, it's messy. Graduation day was supposed to be this massive emotional celebration. Years of late nights, caffeine-fueled essays, and student loan anxiety all leading up to one weekend where everyone pretends they're not exhausted and emotionally fried. I was the first in my family to graduate college, and my mum had gone all out. Backyard lights, catered food, personalized cupcakes with my face on them, which were deeply unsettling, by the way, but sweet in theory. Everything felt perfect. Until it didn't, because in the middle of this heartwarming, borderline Pinterest perfect setup, walked in a woman none of us recognized. Early 40s, too much perfume, bright red lipstick that didn't match the vibe of the barbecue. My mum smiled at her, polite but confused, and asked, "Can I help you?" The woman just laughed and said, "Oh no, I'm a family friend. Dave invited me." Dave, as in my dad. I looked at him. He smiled, gave a casual nod like this was totally normal, and went back to flipping burgers like he hadn't just summoned a human plot twist into our yard. That was red flag number one. I leaned over to my cousin and whispered, "Who invites new people to their kid's graduation party without telling anyone?" And she just whispered back, "Dads." Which, fair, but I couldn't shake the weird vibe. This lady wasn't just there, she was inserting herself into everything, complimenting the decorations like she paid for them, laughing a little too hard at my uncle's tired jokes, and, the biggest sin of all, she tried to cut the cake. The audacity. Still, I kept it cool. Maybe she really was some long-lost co-worker, or someone who helped my dad during a rough patch. Families are weird. Graduation parties are weirder. Whatever. Then came the toast. She stood up, uninvited, glass of champagne in hand, and said, "I just want to say how proud I am of this beautiful, intelligent young woman, and how grateful I am to know such a strong family. Strong men, strong wives. It takes love to build something like this." I swear the air froze. My mum's face went blank. Not confused, not angry, just flat, like she'd been punched but hadn't registered it yet. I caught her eye and immediately knew. She knew exactly who this woman was. The woman smiled and clinked her glass with mine like she didn't just casually imply she was in love with my dad. After that, things moved in slow motion. My mum excused herself, claiming she had to check the food. My dad disappeared 5 minutes later, and the family friend hung out for another hour, chatting up my aunts like she belonged there. But that wasn't even the worst part. Later that night, when most people had left and I was cleaning up, I saw my dad outside walking her to her car. I didn't mean to spy, I was just taking trash out. But there they were, talking, laughing. Then he leaned in and kissed her. Not a goodbye hug, not a friendly kiss on the cheek. A real kiss. Like, we've done this before and we'll do it again. Energy. I froze. My stomach dropped straight through my shoes. And for a second, I honestly thought I was going to throw up right into the recycling bin. I didn't confront him then. I couldn't. I just turned around and went inside. My mum was sitting on the couch, glass of wine in hand, staring at a blank TV screen like she was trying to summon the strength to either scream or never speak again. I sat down beside her and said, "It wasn't a co-worker, was it?" She just shook her head. "She's been around for over a year. I thought he ended it. Then came the breaking point. My dad walked back in like nothing happened and said, "Great party, huh?" That's it. No explanation, no guilt. Just a man who thought he got away with cheating on his wife at his daughter's graduation celebration. I stood up and said, "I saw you kiss her." He looked surprised for half a second, then went straight into damage control mode. "It's complicated. You don't understand our marriage. We've been going through things." I said, "You brought your mistress to my party." His response, "She's not just a mistress. We have a connection." You know that moment when someone says something so delusional that your brain glitches like a Windows 98 error message? That. My mum didn't say another word that night, but the next morning, she called a lawyer. I moved out 2 weeks later. Didn't say goodbye, didn't pack much, just left. They're officially divorced now. She got the house. He moved in with the connection, the kicker. He emailed me a few months later with a link to her business website. Apparently she sells essential oils and moon water or something now, and said, "I'd love for you to give her a chance." I left him on read. This feels like a deleted scene from a sitcom where the writers got tired of subtlety and just threw chaos at the script. Some betrayals are loud, others hidden in your own apartment lease. And that's where we're headed next. I moved in with Jess after a friend of a friend vouched for her. You know the drill. She's chill, super clean, kind of quiet but sweet. All the typical roommate green flags. Plus, she had good references, paid her half of the deposit immediately, and even brought over a welcome plant for the apartment. I should have known right then that the succulent was a decoy. For the first few months, everything was fine. We had a system, split rent through a shared app, alternated chores, even bonded over terrible reality shows. She had a flexible remote job, and I was working retail and saving up to buy a used car. I'd been walking to work or catching the bus for almost a year, and finally had enough put aside to make a down payment. So I booked a test drive, checked out a 2016 Honda Civic that was surprisingly clean. The dealership ran the standard credit check, and I sat there scrolling TikTok while the sales guy tapped away on his keyboard. Then he walked back out with the weirdest expression. "Hey, do you know you already have a few open loans?" I blinked. "What? No, that's not possible. I don't even have a credit card yet." He handed me the report. There were 4 accounts in my name, 3 credit cards and 1 personal loan, all maxed out, all unpaid. 1 was in collections. The balances added up to over $14,000. My credit score had tanked into the "you better not even ask for a loan" category. At first, I thought it had to be some clerical error, a mix-up, a stolen wallet maybe. But when I got home and pulled my own credit report, it was all there. Real accounts, real charges, and every billing address matched my current apartment. That's when the panic kicked in. I went into full forensic mode, checked my desk drawers, found one of the old pre-approved offers I'd thrown out months ago, opened and stashed in the back. It wasn't just someone guessing my info, they lived with me. They had access to my mail, my files, even my social security number. I'd left it in a binder for job applications, thinking it was safe in my own room. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to even consider that Jess, chill, plant gifting, let's split groceries Jess, could do something like this. So I tested it. I casually brought up credit scores the next day while we were watching TV. "You ever worry about identity theft?" I asked. She didn't even flinch, just laughed and said, "Only if they have good credit." Mom, this girl really joked about it, like she wasn't the reason I was now a financial cautionary tale. Then came the breaking point. I found a statement, her statement, with my name on it, in the trash. She didn't even shred it. I confronted her immediately, just held it up and said, "You want to explain why my name is on your credit card bill?" She tried to play dumb for about 30 seconds, then sighed like I was the one being dramatic. Okay, yes, I used your info, but I was going to pay it off eventually. I just needed a little help getting started. She literally said she was borrowing my identity. What is this? A library card? She acted like it was a minor inconvenience, like I'd just spotted her $20 for a concert ticket. I told her I was pressing charges. Her face changed instantly. All the fake chillness vanished. You wouldn't do that to me. We live together. We're friends. Friends don't rack up 5 figures of debt in your name and then leave you with a credit score lower than the freezer section at Walmart. I called the police that night, filed a report, started the long, awful process of disputing fraudulent accounts with credit bureaus, froze my credit, reported the cards, the whole 9 yards. She got arrested, didn't even apologize, just cried and told the officers, I was desperate. You almost have to admire the audacity. She pled guilty, got probation, community service, and a nice permanent flag on her record. Me, I'm still recovering. My credit score's slowly climbing back up, but it's going to be a while before I qualify for anything. Bigger than a phone plan. No car, no loans, definitely no house. But at least I got her out of my life. The part that still gets me, she actually had the nerve to send me a DM a few months later from a new account saying she hoped I could forgive and move forward. I left her on red. Some people treat trust like a loan they don't plan on paying back. But what happens when the secret you're hiding isn't even yours? Buckle up. This next one's a mess. We'd planned this girl's trip for months. Just me, 3 close friends, and a very overpriced Airbnb in the mountains. One of those fake rustic places with live, laugh, lake signs everywhere, and suspiciously perfect lighting for Instagram. We had matching flannel pajamas, group selfies, wine, and zero internet for 48 hours, which in theory sounded peaceful. But it turns out that silence just gives drama time to ferment. Anyway, we get back from the trip. Everyone's in good spirits, and I post a cute group shot on my main. Nothing controversial, just us posing on the cabin porch, holding mugs of hot cocoa, and looking like the cast of a Pinterest ad. Within minutes, the post starts blowing up. But not from likes. The first weird sign was a comment that said, Wow, did he know you were on a romantic getaway with your side piece? At first I thought it was a joke, some troll. Then I saw the profile. Real guy, real photos. His name, Noah. And his profile said married to Ava, as in my best friend Ava. Cue the internal screaming. I clicked his profile to double check. And yeah, wedding photos. Her in a white dress, him beaming, full-on ceremony pics I'd never seen in my life. Which is wild because I've known Ava since college. We tell each other everything. Or so I thought. What happened next? Nobody saw it coming. More comments rolled in. Someone tagged another guy. That guy posted a single emoji. Another person dropped a screenshot of an Instagram DM she'd apparently sent him that morning. It all started to spiral, fast. I texted Ava like, hey, what's going on? Do you know someone named Noah? No reply. I DM'd her. Nothing. 10 minutes later, she blocked me. Not just muted or archived. Blocked, like I was the villain in her story. I called one of the other girls from the trip. She hadn't heard anything either. She went to check Ava's profile and she was blocked too. That's when it all clicked. Ava wasn't just hiding a relationship. She was hiding a marriage. And she wasn't just hiding the marriage. She was actively cheating on her husband during our vacation with a guy she told us was her co-worker turned situationship. Turns out it was situationship. In the same way a plane crash is a rough landing. Then came the breaking point. Noah posted a public comment on my post, tagging Ava. Did you tell him you're married, or were you going to keep both of us? Straight up dropped the nuke, publicly. And of course, once that happened, it got screenshot, reposted, reshared. Her secret was out, and there was no putting that toothpaste back in the tube. Within an hour, someone posted that Noah had filed for divorce. He literally updated his Facebook relationship status to divorced before Ava even had a chance to do damage control. And here I was, still sitting on my couch in pajamas, holding a mug of lukewarm tea like I hadn't just indirectly detonated someone's double life. Imagine being this confidently wrong. I finally got a text from Ava a day later. Well, not a real text, just, "I can't believe you would do this to me." Oh, okay. So, I'm the villain now? I didn't even reply. I just posted a meme. One of those classic SpongeBob Itema head out ones. Captioned it, "When the vacation exposes your whole double life." She blocked that account too. Mutual friends started reaching out. Some were just as blindsided as I was. Others said they'd had a feeling something was off. One even said Ava had used a fake name for the guy on the trip, claimed he was just an old college buddy who was tagging along. They'd shared a room. We didn't ask questions. I mean, we're adults. Do your thing. But apparently, do your thing now included full-on bigamy. After the dust settled, I went back and archived the original post. Not because I felt guilty, I didn't, but because the comments were getting out of control. People were using it like a group therapy thread for their own cheating stories. I did check in on Noah, though. He posted once more a few weeks later. Something quiet, just a photo of a coffee and the caption, "New beginnings." No hashtags, no drama, just vibes. I think that was his peace offering to himself. As for Ava, she disappeared off social media for a bit, then resurfaced with a new account and a bio that said, "Healing, growth, boundaries." Mom, please, the only thing you grew was the list of people who now avoid eye contact at brunch. Still, I learned something. Secrets have a funny way of showing up in the background of vacation photos. Sometimes you don't have to go digging. They just photobomb themselves. And hey, if you're gonna cheat, maybe don't bring your side piece to a group event and expect zero fallout when someone inevitably tags you. But what else do people hide before marriage? Well, how about bankruptcy? We were standing in the middle of a craft store arguing over tiny jars of honey when the credit card machine beeped. Declined. No big deal. Maybe it was flagged or hit the limit. He laughed it off, pulled out another card. Same thing. Declined. I offered to pay, thinking maybe he forgot to transfer funds between accounts or whatever. He always had some complicated excuse about his business expenses. We left the store with no honey jars and a weird pit growing in my stomach. I didn't want to overthink it. Weddings are stressful enough, but still something about his reaction felt off. Not panicked, not embarrassed, just resigned. A few days later, I decided to do what every anxious bride does when something feels off. I Googled, started with a basic search of his company name, thinking maybe his business had hit a rough patch. And that's when I found it, a court document. Filed 2 months ago. Chapter 7, Bankruptcy. My eyes skimmed past the legal jargon and locked on his name, clear as day. The business hadn't just hit a rough patch. It was completely gutted, liquidated, assets frozen. He had nothing. But that wasn't even the worst part. The filing listed his personal debt too, over $100,000 across business loans, personal credit cards, and one truly horrific payday loan from a company with a name that sounded like it should be illegal. He'd signed the paperwork 2 months ago, right around the time he proposed. So let me get this straight. He went on one knee with a bankrupt business, a mountain of debt, and a plan to not mention any of it until after I walked down the aisle. I confronted him that night, just handed him the printout. He looked at it, didn't even try to deny it. "I didn't want to stress you out before the wedding," he said, like he was doing me Anne a favor by lying through his teeth. "Oh, so we're doing that now?" I asked if he ever planned to tell me. He said yes, after the honeymoon, once we were settled in, because according to him, marriage is about weathering storms together. Sure, but that usually means knowing there's a storm in the first place, and here's where it gets absurd. Not only had he hidden the bankruptcy, but he'd also been using my name, subtly, to try to qualify for joint lines of credit. He hadn't opened anything yet, but I saw the paperwork sitting in our home printer tray. He was testing the waters, filling out apps with my name, my income, my credit score. I wasn't even his wife yet, and he was already prepping to drag me down with him. I sat there in total disbelief while he tried to spin it as us being a team. I genuinely thought this couldn't get worse. I was wrong, because apparently his parents knew. Yup, his entire family had been in on it. I only found that out when his mum called me the next day. Not to apologize, but to say I was being unreasonable. Her exact words: "People have ups and downs. You're supposed to support him, not punish him for struggling." I asked her if she'd be cool with someone dragging her daughter into bankruptcy before the honeymoon. She hung up on me. That was when everything unraveled. I cancelled the wedding, called the venue, the caterer, the DJ, the florist, one by one. Most of them were surprisingly understanding. I had to eat the deposit losses, but at least I wasn't locking myself into a lifetime of cleaning up someone else's financial disaster. He tried to talk me out of it, said we could rebuild together, sent me long emails about love and loyalty, even offered to go on a payment plan with me, Gags, to repay the deposits I lost. The irony was suffocating. I moved out a week later. I didn't even take the dress, left it hanging in the closet like a ghost of the life he wanted me to walk blindly into. He still texts me sometimes, says he's doing better now, that he's thinking about starting over in a new city, that he hopes we can be friends. I don't respond. You almost have to admire the delusion. Here's the thing: bankruptcy isn't a deal breaker. Lying about it is. Hiding your whole financial reality from your future spouse. That's not weathering a storm. That's setting someone else up to drown while you pretend the ship is fine. So, yeah, I didn't get married, but I also didn't end up with 100K in someone else's debt. So I call that a win. And then there's the cousin who didn't steal money, but stole a baby name. Let's talk about that emotional heist next. Ever since we were kids, my cousin and I had this weird but harmless competition. You know, the kind who get married first, who'd land the better job, who'd buy the first house. Mostly playful, except when it wasn't. We also used to talk about baby names like it was a future branding exercise. I had mine locked in by the time I was 12. A name I adored, one that felt like mine in a way that's hard to explain. It wasn't trendy, not something you'd hear in every kindergarten class. Just beautiful, simple, meaningful. So naturally, I told her, trusted her. We were family. Fast forward to adulthood. She gets pregnant first. Great. I was genuinely happy for her. Went to the shower, bought baby clothes, helped pick out decorations. I didn't even think about the name thing, because who does that? Then came the Facebook post, a photo of her in the hospital bed, holding her newborn, captioned, "Meet my name. Always loved this name. So unique and original." I stared at the screen, blinked, read it again. My name. The one I'd told her about years ago. The one I'd held on to like a little daydream for my own future kid. She used it, didn't ask, didn't credit, and worst of all, she claimed she came up with it herself. I commented under the post, nothing aggressive, just, "Glad you like my name." And within 10 minutes, blocked. She didn't reply, didn't message me, didn't apologize. Just straight up blocked me like I was the problem. But that wasn't even the worst part, because that's when the rest of the family got involved. I started getting texts from aunts and uncles, not to check in on me, say, but to say I was being dramatic and it's just a name. One even said, she's the one who actually had the baby, so she gets first pick. like motherhood was some sort of speedrun competition and I'd lost by default. I tried explaining it wasn't just about the name, it was about trust, about someone I considered family blatantly stealing something I told her in confidence. But they kept minimizing it. You're not even pregnant. You might never even have a girl. It's not copyrighted. I genuinely thought this couldn't get more tone deaf. I was wrong. Then came the breaking point. Someone, I don't even know who, screen capped my comment before she blocked me and posted it in our extended family group chat, captioned it with a laughing emoji, like I was some unhinged meme-worthy moment. Her mum replied, "Guess someone's feeling left out." Left out? I was the one who'd planned the baby shower games, made the custom onesies. She didn't just steal the name, she erased my contribution and rewrote the story to make herself the hero. It's like watching a villain monologue before slipping on a banana peel. I left the group chat. I didn't make a scene, didn't write a long post, just quietly exited the entire circus and muted every single one of them. And of course, a few weeks later, the cousin posted again. A big mommy and me photo shoot. Pastels, floral crowns, the whole influencer package. Captioned it, "Still obsessed with her perfect, one-of-a-kind name. One of a kind, right." I didn't say anything, but I did start using a private notes app to list new baby name ideas, just in case. And this time, I'm not telling a soul, not even my own group chat. That list is under lock and key. Do I sound petty? Maybe. But if you've ever had someone take something that mattered to you and act like it was theirs the whole time, you know that sting. And to be honest, I don't even want the original name anymore. Not because I don't love it, but because I don't want my future kid growing up thinking they're named after their second cousin. Let her keep it. The girl rebranded herself as a creative genius off the back of a name I mentioned over boxed mac and cheese when we were 13. But hey, family's forever, right? Yeah, about that. Now imagine all this pettiness, but in a wedding, with a dress code war. That one's next. And trust me, it's glorious. I flew cross country for this wedding, bought a dress I loved, booked time off work, even chipped in for the group gift. The bride was one of my oldest friends, not someone I talk to daily anymore, but still, we'd been close. She was the kind of friend you could go a year without seeing and pick right back up. So when I got the invite to her big day, I was genuinely excited. The rehearsal dinner was at this rustic chic venue that clearly tried very hard to look casually expensive. I wore a long forest green satin dress, nothing flashy, simple, elegant. It fit the semi-formal vibe, or so I thought, until her mother pulled me aside mid-appetizer with the energy of a woman who's been waiting all week to unleash on someone. She said, and I quote, "That color doesn't photograph well. It clashes with the palette." At first, I thought she was joking. I even laughed. Wrong move. She stared at me like I'd just insulted the catering staff. Then she followed up with, "It's not appropriate for someone who isn't in the wedding party." Mind you, this woman had never liked me, ever. Not in high school, not in college, not now. She always had that fake smile thing going, like she wanted everyone to think she was the classy matriarch, but was one Prosecco away from going full Bravo villain. And here's where it gets absurd. The next morning, I got a text from the bride, not a call, a text. It said, "Hey, Mom is really stressed and just wants everything to be perfect. Can you sit this one out?" I stared at my phone for a good minute trying to figure out what "sit this one out" meant. Like, skip the wedding, after flying across the country, after asking what color to wear, and getting told just something nice. So I replied with something polite but firm, something like, "I'm confused. Are you uninviting me because of my dress?" No reply. I waited 2 hours. Then I got a single emoji from her. Yeah, that was it. A sad face. I packed up my stuff, checked out of the hotel, and booked myself a full spa day. Massage, facial, room service, the works. If I wasn't allowed to attend the wedding, I was going to enjoy the trip. And frankly, I needed the time to cool off, because the audacity, off the charts. Oh, and then came the best part. Their outdoor wedding rained out, like full-blown torrential downpour, mud everywhere, flowers soggy. Photographer cancelled mid-ceremony because their gear was getting wrecked. I found out from Instagram. A guest posted a blurry photo of the bridal party under a series of collapsing tents with the caption, "It's still beautiful in its own way." Look, I'm not saying the universe plays favorites, but sometimes karma really does. RSVP. The bride later sent me a follow-up message. Sorry things got weird. Hope you're not mad. No acknowledgement of how it felt to be booted from a major life event over a color. Just that half-hearted, non-apology fluff that makes you feel like you were the one being dramatic. You almost have to admire the boldness. I didn't reply. Because here's the thing. I'm not mad about the dress. I'm not mad about the uninvite. I'm mad about how easily I was written out of her life. How fast someone can downgrade you from close friend to rehearsal dinner inconvenience when their image is on the line. They wanted a picture-perfect wedding. Instead, they got soaked. And I got a seaweed wrap, a glass of champagne, and zero regrets. What happened next? Oh, just a teacher, a college rejection, and one very suspicious recommendation letter. I spent my entire junior and senior year building the perfect college application. I was top of my class, president of 2 clubs, stacked with AP credits, glowing transcripts, the full academic resume. The only thing I needed was the recommendation letters to seal the deal. So, like every other honors kid in my school, I asked Mrs. Lane. She was the longtime English teacher, the legendary advisor who'd been there for decades and had this reputation for knowing which phrases made admissions officers melt. I'd been in her advanced writing class and always assumed we had a decent relationship, but I guess I overestimated her professionalism, because the moment I told her I'd chosen a different teacher to be my primary advisor, Mr. Andrews, the science department head, she flipped. At first it was subtle. She acted supportive, but with this weird undertone. She'd say things like, "I'm sure Mr. Andrews will give you a glowing review. He must know so much about you from chemistry class." But that wasn't even the worst part. The first sign something was actually wrong came when my early decision school emailed me. "Still missing one of your letters." That didn't make sense. I'd submitted everything a full 2 weeks early. I followed up with Mrs. Lane, and she just casually said, "Oh, that must have been a tech issue. I'll resend it today." Okay, fine. Stuff happens. Then it happened again. Another college, same problem. Different excuse. Must have gotten caught in the spam folder. These portals can be so finicky. At this point, my gut told me something wasn't right. I asked the other students who had requested letters from her. None of them had issues. Just me. So I tested a theory. I created a separate email account and submitted a fake request to her, pretending to be a student from another section. Boom! She responded instantly, with a professional template and an attached draft letter. Meanwhile, my third request, for my last scholarship deadline, went completely ignored. So I confronted her, after school, in person. I tried to be calm. I said, "Hey, I don't mean to be pushy, but my final deadline is this Friday, and I'm still missing your letter for the financial aid committee." And she just smiled, tilted her head like I was a toddler asking for candy before dinner. Then she said, "I just think maybe you've overextended yourself. Maybe you're not quite ready for that kind of pressure yet." It took me a second to register what she meant. She wasn't forgetting. She was choosing not to submit the letter, because I dared to pick another advisor. And that's when everything unraveled. I went straight to Mr. Andrews and explained everything. He didn't even blink. He believed me instantly. Apparently, I wasn't the first student this had happened to. One girl the year before had nearly lost her state scholarship over a missing rec letter. So we gathered receipts, every email, every submission confirmation, every deadline she missed. We printed everything out and walked it to the principal's office together. The principal looked terrified. This woman had been on staff for 30 years. She ran the literary magazine. She coordinated teacher awards. She had deep roots, but the school board didn't care about roots when legal exposure was on the table. I sent my full documentation to the superintendent, along with a note that I was considering reporting to the State Board of Education. 2 days later, the school quietly offered Mrs. Lane early retirement. Her goodbye party email was the most passive-aggressive thing I've ever read. After years of dedicated service, I'm choosing to step back and let the next generation lead. Sure, right after getting exposed for deliberately sabotaging college-bound kids. The best part? 2 weeks after she left, I got a notification. Admitted to my dream school with a full academic scholarship. I almost cried reading the email, not just from happiness, but from relief. All that work, all that stress, and some petty adult tried to destroy it because her ego got bruised. I genuinely thought this couldn't get worse. I was wrong, but I was also louder, smarter, and far more determined. She gave me the best essay material I could have asked for, and I didn't even have to lie. Now, speaking of ridiculous authority figures, imagine getting sued by your neighbor over your dog's barking. Yeah, buckle in. She said it started with a polite warning, a note on my door, folded neatly and written in cursive like it was 1953. Your dog's barking is causing emotional strain. Please address it immediately. Okay, weird. My dog, Scout, is a 3-year-old golden retriever, sweetest boy on the planet. Yeah, he barks sometimes, mostly when someone walks too close to the fence or when a squirrel gets cocky, but non-stop barking, that's just not him. At first I brushed it off, figured maybe she was having a rough day, and the sound just irritated her. I even left her a voicemail offering to install a white noise machine on her side of the property. No response. Then came the second note, and this one wasn't so polite. It was typed, bolded, signed with her full name. It accused me of neglect, said she was documenting the noise violations, and that if it continued, she would pursue legal action. Legal. Over barking. At this point, I started paying closer attention. I adjusted Scout's walk schedule, made sure he got plenty of stimulation, even bought him a new set of toys to keep him occupied during the day. But I also started noticing something off. Scout would be lying calmly in the yard, chewing on his rope toy, and then suddenly snap up, alert, barking like someone just rang the doorbell. I'd rush out thinking maybe a delivery had arrived. Nothing. Not even a breeze. It was always the same timing. Afternoon, when my neighbor Pam usually took her garden walks. Then came the escalation. I got an actual legal notice in the mail. She filed a civil complaint claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress due to chronic aggressive canine harassment. She included audio clips, recordings of Scout barking his head off. I was stunned. It honestly made me question my own memory. Had I underestimated how often he barked? But then came the breaking point. I installed outdoor security cameras. I figured if I was going to end up in court, I might as well protect myself with evidence. And what I saw, unreal. She wasn't just documenting his barking, she was causing it. Pam would walk by my fence with a high-pitched dog whistle, blow it once or twice, then immediately pull out her phone and record. Scout, obviously startled, would run to the fence barking, and she'd stand there calmly filming, like she was David Attenborough narrating chaos in the wild. She did this almost every single day. One time she even pretended to trip and scream, just to trigger a bark, then immediately checked to make sure her phone was recording. You almost have to admire the audacity. So yeah, I countersued. I gathered all the footage, time-stamped it, synced it with the audio clips she'd submitted. I even pulled phone logs showing I'd offered to solve the issue early on. The judge didn't just throw out her complaint, he scolded her for manipulating the situation. She tried to play the frail elderly neighbor card, but the footage didn't lie. Neither did her online reviews from other neighbors calling her controlling and spiteful. And here's where it gets absurd. The court issued a protective order against her. She's not allowed to approach my fence line, use sound devices near my property, or interact with my dog in any way. Her reaction? She accused the judge of being biased toward pet owners. Imagine being this confidently wrong. Since then, she's been quiet, mostly. Occasionally, she'll back her car out with a little too much tire screech, like she's trying to intimidate a golden retriever. Scout, he just barks once and goes back to chewing on his Kong. And me, I added wind chimes, because if she wants to listen to noise, I'll give her a full soundtrack. The best part? I heard through another neighbor that she tried to complain to the HOA, and they laughed. One of the board members apparently has a St. Bernard, so good luck with that, Pam. What happened next? Nobody saw it coming, because while I was dealing with whistle-happy Pam, my aunt decided to commit a whole different kind of crime, involving scissors, a wedding dress, and a lot of entitlement. It was supposed to be sentimental. I wasn't one of those people obsessed with designer gowns or boutique fittings. What I wanted, what I always wanted, was to walk down the aisle in my mum's wedding dress. Classic lace, soft ivory, long sleeves, the kind of dress you could just feel had a story. She wore it in the late 80s, married my dad in a small backyard ceremony that people still talk about like it was a fairy tale. And the dress? It was timeless. So when I got engaged, the plan was simple. I'd get it tailored, maybe update the neckline, fix a few seams. But I wanted that dress to be the one. No doubt about it. The problem was my mum's sister, my Aunt Laura. Now, Laura's the type of person who smiles while she's judging you. You know the kind. Makes passive comments like, "Oh, I guess some people don't mind eloping," when you mention budgeting. Or, "Not everyone has the body for a mermaid cut." Just loud enough for the whole room to hear. But she offered to help. She sews, allegedly. Had made Halloween costumes when I was a kid, and even helped with some of my mum's old curtains. So when she said I'd be honored to help alter the dress, I hesitated. But I said yes. It felt like keeping it in the family. That was my first mistake. I dropped it off at her house one Saturday, carried it in a garment bag like it was a crown jewel. She acted normal, offered me coffee, showed me her old sewing machine, even pulled out swatches to match the fabric. I left feeling good, relieved even. And then came the breaking point. A week later, I stopped by to check on the progress. She looked surprised, like caught off guard, deer in headlights surprised. Said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you until next week. It's not done yet." But something was off. Her living room was clean, her sewing station was empty, no signs of fabric or thread anywhere. And then I saw the trash bag, sitting by the back door, tied up but not sealed. I don't know what possessed me to look, but I pulled it open. And there it was, the dress, or at least pieces of it, shredded lace, torn seams, bodice sliced straight down the middle, like someone took scissors to it in a rage. The beading, hand-stitched by my grandmother, was scattered like confetti at the bottom of the bag. I didn't even speak. I just turned around, held up the bag and said, "What is this?" Her face didn't flinch. "Oh, that? It was yellowing. The fabric was breaking down. I didn't want to give it back to you like that." That's when everything unraveled. I asked why she didn't call me first, why she didn't let me decide what to do with my mother's wedding dress, why she didn't even try to preserve it. And she just shrugged, said, "It's just fabric, sweetie. You can't hold on to the past forever." My mum cried when I told her. Full on, silent, devastated tears. She hadn't kept many things from her wedding, just the dress and a single photo album. That dress was her memory in silk and stitches, but that wasn't even the worst part. A few days later, I found out from my cousin that Laura didn't ruin the dress because it was yellowing. She did it because she was jealous. Jealous that my mom had a real marriage. Jealous that her own wedding had ended in divorce. Jealous that I was wearing the dress and not her daughter. Jealous that the spotlight was shifting away from her. Apparently, she'd vented after a few too many glasses of boxed wine at a family BBQ. She always got everything, she'd said. Now her daughter gets the perfect dress and the perfect fiancé. This feels like a deleted scene from a sitcom. If the sitcom had a spiteful villain arc and zero redeeming moments. Needless to say, she's not invited anymore. Not to the wedding, not to the shower, not even to brunch the morning after. My mum was the one who cut her off first, saying, "If she can't respect my memories, she doesn't get to witness yours." We salvaged what we could. A local seamstress helped me turn part of the lace into a wrap. The buttons were sewn into a ribbon I'll wear around my bouquet. The rest, we cremated it, seriously. Burned it in the backyard fire pit as a way to say goodbye. Closure by fire. And here's the twist. A month later, Laura sent me a Facebook message. No apology, no remorse, just a link to an Etsy store and a discount code. She's now selling custom bridal wraps made from vintage materials. I didn't even respond. I just blocked her, then laughed so hard I cried. You almost have to admire the audacity. What happened next? Nobody saw it coming. Because while I was dealing with one aunt's scissors, another cousin decided to fake her entire college degree. And guess who she asked to write a job recommendation? I'll admit it, it started as a joke. At first, it was just one picture. I borrowed my cousin's Rolex, stood in front of a luxury car parked outside a steakhouse, and threw on some obnoxious caption like, "Closing deals, opening bottles." I had maybe 300 followers, nobody cared, except one of those people did care. They messaged me asking, "What's your business?" I panicked, said e-commerce, which is just vague enough to sound real. Then it snowballed. Over the next few months, I turned into a part-time illusionist. I'd sneak into fancy hotel lobbies and pretend I was staying there. Take a photo on the rooftop bar, crop out the fact that I was drinking tap water. I'd borrowed designer clothes from friends. Once, I even paid $20 to a guy on Craigslist to sit in the back of his rented Lamborghini for a photo shoot. It became addictive. Every time I posted, my likes went up. People treated me differently. Girls started messaging me. Strangers were asking for tips. I wasn't faking it until I made it. I was faking it, and it was working. And then I met her. Her name was Nina. She followed me first, said she loved my energy. We started messaging, then FaceTiming, then actually dating. She was smart, beautiful, and somehow not allergic to my BS. She worked in marketing and came from a very wealthy family, like private school, horse lessons, summering in Italy type wealthy, which was a problem because I was still living with two roommates in a 3-bedroom apartment that smelled vaguely like moldy socks and frozen burritos. But I kept up the act. Whenever she asked about my business, I'd give vague answers. We're scaling right now, mostly passive income streams. It's complicated but exciting. I sounded like a walking startup pitch deck. She believed it, or at least pretended to. Then came the breaking point. Nina invited me to dinner with her family. Not just any dinner, her dad's birthday. At their house, which looked like a restoration hardware catalogue if it was designed by someone with an actual royal title. I showed up in my best borrowed blazer and tried not to sweat through it. Her dad was quiet but observant. Asked the usual polite questions. How long had I been in business? What kind of clients? revenue numbers. I improvised. I said something about streamlining B2B logistics through scalable supply chains, which means nothing, by the way. But he just nodded. Dinner ended. Her dad pulled me aside and said, I like ambitious people. We should talk about co-investing. I've been looking for new projects. And that was it. Game over. I panicked for 3 days straight. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I knew that if I lied again, it would only get worse. I had no business, no revenue. My only product was Photoshop and Audacity. So I confessed, sat Nina down and told her everything, from the fake watch to the hotel lobby selfies to the Craigslist Lambo. I even showed her the drawer in my apartment labeled Instagram props. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She just stared at me for a long time and said, why didn't you think you were enough? I didn't have an answer. She left that night, texted me the next morning to say she needed space. Her dad never followed up. And just like that, the facade cracked. But here's where it gets absurd. Even after I came clean, my follower count kept growing. Apparently, someone from Nina's circle had spilled the tea, and the whole fake rich guy gets exposed saga went viral. People started following me just to see what I'd post next. Some were supportive, some just liked the chaos. One guy even commented, at least you put in the effort. Most dudes just flex rental cars. You built an entire character arc. You almost have to admire the audacity, except it was my own audacity. I deleted half my posts, changed my bio to rebranding from delusional to real. Started posting actual stuff, my freelance work, the grind, occasional fails. It felt weird, like taking off a costume and realizing you have no idea what to wear underneath. But it also felt lighter. No more scrambling to borrow shoes or sneak into country clubs. Just me, my camera, and a surprising number of people who were still along for the ride. So yeah, I lost the girl, lost the illusion, but I kept the lesson. Pretending to be rich might get you followers, but being caught pretending, that gets you infamy. And maybe, just maybe, that's what I deserved. What happened next? Nobody saw it coming, because a week later, Nina's dad messaged me. Not to sue, not to yell. He wanted to hire me to run social media for one of his lesser-known brands. Apparently, authentic storytelling was in demand. I said yes, because you know what they say. If you can fake honesty well enough, someone will pay you to be real. It was supposed to be a chill dinner. You know, just one of those meet the parents nights where you eat overpriced roast chicken, pretend you know the difference between port and Cabernet, and laugh at a joke that wasn't funny the first time you told it. I'd already been dating Marissa for about 8 months, and we were getting pretty serious. This was my second dinner at her parents' house, so I thought the hard part, the initial handshake, the dad stare down, the obligatory comment about being a provider, was behind me. Spoiler, it wasn't. Dinner started off normal enough. Her mum made something fancy, like Julia Child level fancy. The kind of meal where you have to Google half the ingredients and pretend duck liver terrine doesn't taste like sadness. Her dad was mostly quiet. He'd always been stiff, but tonight he was extra observant, like he was analyzing me, calculating. I figured he was just sizing me up again. Rich guy stuff, right? He'd built a business from scratch, retired early, and clearly saw me as someone who didn't own enough polos to date his daughter. Then came the mistake. Mid-dinner, Marissa mentioned that my job had been stressing me out. I laughed and made a dumb joke. Something like, ugh, I should just quit and become a ski instructor in Tahoe. It was a throwaway line, one of those things you say between bites of asparagus. Her dad smiled. Not a real smile, one of those tight-lipped calculating ones. I didn't think much of it at the time, but that wasn't even the worst part. The next day, around lunchtime, I got a text from an unknown number. No words, just a video clip. I opened it. It was me at dinner. saying the thing about quitting my job and becoming a ski instructor. His voice in the background, hers too, clear as day. I looked like an idiot, but more importantly, I was being recorded. I froze. I stared at the screen for a solid minute trying to figure out if it was a prank, or AI, or some weird joke. But it wasn't edited. It was just a mic'd up family dinner. Like I was on some dystopian version of MasterChef, where instead of judging your souffle, they were judging your life plans. And then the text came in. If you're not serious about providing for my daughter, don't waste her time. I sat back in my chair, my heart racing like I'd just been caught shoplifting, which is wild because all I did was eat some duck and joke about a vacation. But suddenly it felt like I was being interrogated for treason. This is where patience finally snapped. I didn't respond. I didn't ask why. I already knew. This wasn't about me. It was about control. He thought he was protecting her, but what he was really doing was playing gatekeeper. Like her life was a company, and he was the security clearance. So I called Marissa, told her what happened, that her dad had sent me a recording from dinner, that he had mic'd the dining room, and she gasped, but not in the way I expected. Not in the "oh my God, he did what" way. No, her gasp sounded guilty. She said, "He told me he might do that. I just sat there." "You knew?" "Well, he said it was just in case. He's done it before. With my ex." I didn't even know where to start. I asked her if she was okay with that, if she seriously thought that was normal behavior. She said, "I don't love it, but he just wants what's best for me." Best for her? This man secretly recorded me and then used the evidence to threaten me over text like he was a villain in a bad spy movie. And she was brushing it off like he'd just forgotten her birthday. That's when everything unraveled. I told her I couldn't do this. That if she was okay with this level of control, of invasion, of paranoia, then we clearly didn't see relationships the same way. She started crying, said I was being dramatic, that I wasn't thinking long term, that this could have been fixed. Fixed? Unless fixed meant giving her dad final edit approval over my life. I didn't see how that was happening. I blocked them both that night. Her number, her dad's number, her mum's email, all of it. I went nuclear. Deleted our photos, unfollowed everything. I didn't want breadcrumbs. I wanted distance. You ever get so blindsided that you don't even know how to feel for a while? That was me. Just walking around for days like, did I really get bugged during roast duck? It felt like a deleted scene from a Netflix thriller where the villain is a polite retiree in khakis and a Bluetooth headset. And here's the kicker. 2 weeks later, a mutual friend texted me a screenshot. Marissa had posted a story of her and her dad smiling on a yacht with the caption, "My forever protector. Love you, Dad." Okay then, imagine being this confidently wrong. I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics it takes to rebrand surveillance as protection, but hey, at least they're committed to the bit. As for me, I'm back to dating women whose families don't require FBI clearance. It's refreshing. Also, fun fact, I actually did go skiing the following month. Didn't quit my job though. Turns out the paycheck is helpful when you're not secretly being recruited for the next season of Family Feud. Covert Ops Edition. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. Not a text, not a like, not a vague, passive-aggressive Instagram story. Nothing. We went from practically living in each other's apartments to full radio silence. And honestly, I was okay with that. I'd made peace with it until she walked into my wedding. And not like, oh, she wasn't on the guest list but got a +1 kind of walked in. I mean stormed in during the reception, wearing a red dress and rage like it was a designer label. Let me rewind a little. So my ex-best friend, we'll call her Leia, and I were close for most of our 20s. She was wild, messy, magnetic. You know the type. The friend your mum doesn't fully trust, but who always makes life interesting. For a while, that worked. Then I got tired of being the cleanup crew for her bad decisions. The friendship ended over, what else? A guy. Not my guy. One of her many. She got caught cheating, blamed me for not warning her, and ghosted. I wasn't even surprised. It felt like she needed the drama more than the friendship anyway. Fast forward to my wedding day. I'd just married James. Sweet, dependable, loyal James. The kind of guy who sends calendar invites for weekend brunch and makes a spreadsheet for holiday gifts. The kind of guy Leah always called vanilla. Well, turns out she preferred vanilla more than I thought. We were about 2 hours into the reception. Everyone was a little tipsy, the playlist was popping, and I had just taken off my heels to breathe. I remember it so clearly because someone had just started a conga line, like, unironically, when the room went dead silent. I looked up and there she was, Leah, holding a manila envelope like it was a warrant. I swear it felt like the air got sucked out of the room. She didn't shout, she didn't cry. She just walked. Straight to James in the middle of the dance floor, handed him the envelope and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You owe him a father." And just like that, the room exploded. Some people gasped. Someone dropped a glass. My mum actually screamed, like full horror movie scream. James stood there frozen, holding this envelope like it might detonate. And I just stared, because inside that envelope, paternity test results and a photo of a baby that looked exactly like my husband did in his baby pictures. Same dimples, same eyes, same dimple in his eye when he smiles. And here's where it gets absurd. James looked at Leah and said nothing, didn't deny it, didn't argue, just stared at the photo like it had punched him in the face. Then he said, "When?" "About a year before you met her." Her meaning, me. So here I am, in my wedding dress, feet swollen, makeup melting, surrounded by drunk relatives and cake crumbs, while my brand new husband is doing the math on a baby he didn't know existed, from a woman who wasn't even supposed to be in the building. Commentary break, because honestly, this felt like a deleted scene from a soap opera. Like, how do you even respond to that? So what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. James handed the envelope back, didn't even look at me, didn't ask if I was okay, didn't say this isn't what it looks like or let me explain. He just looked through me and walked outside with her. Just walked out. No explanation, no apology. No, nothing. I stood there like an extra in my own wedding. Someone tried to touch my arm. My cousin whispered something like, "Do you want to sit down?" But my ears were ringing. I couldn't hear anything. All I could think was, I married a man who had a secret child with my ex-best friend, and neither of them thought that was important till now. It took me 20 minutes to leave the venue. I Ubered back to my apartment alone, in my wedding dress, holding a bouquet like it was a crime scene artifact. The driver didn't even ask, just turned up the radio like he was used to this kind of thing. James texted me that night, said he didn't know about the baby until on that day, that he'd had a thing with Leah before we met, and she never told him she was pregnant. He claimed she ghosted him, said he had no idea. Sure, and yet she knew exactly where to find us, exactly when to drop the bomb, exactly how to nuke the entire night in under 60 seconds. I didn't text back, I didn't call, I cancelled our honeymoon, had our marriage annulled a week later. And get this, the most surreal part, my wedding photographer messaged me asking if I still wanted to see the photos, as if I'd want a scrapbook of that day. You almost have to admire the audacity. Not just of Leah, but of James too, for keeping that kind of history buried and thinking it would never surface, like the universe doesn't love chaos. So yeah, that's a story of how I left my own wedding in an Uber, while my husband bonded with his surprise baby mama. As for Leah, last I heard she was posting thirst traps with the caption, "Unbothered." And the kid, not his. Yup, DNA test round 2 came in months later. Turns out Leah just thought it was his. But that didn't stop her from crashing the wedding to serve drama hotter than the buffet. This feels like a storyline AI wrote after watching too many telenovelas. Anyway, I'm doing better now. No husband, no best friend, but also no secrets. And honestly, that's the real wedding gift. My parents sat me down like they were about to tell me someone died. But no, they just wanted to let me know that I would be paying for my brother's wedding. Not contributing, not helping. Paying. For the whole thing. According to them, it only made sense. I'm the oldest. I have a great job. I don't have kids yet. And apparently those 3 facts together mean I'm now a walking ATM for my younger brother's life choices. Let me give you some context. My brother Ben is 28. He's always been the golden child. Like, if he sneezes, my mum's baking him a pie. If I win an award? Cool. Anyway, your brother's planning a wedding. He and his fiancée had been together for about 2 years and decided to go big. Destination wedding, full weekend itinerary, private chef, open bar, the works. So when my parents told me they wanted me to fund that, I genuinely thought it was a joke. It wasn't. They said it with straight faces, said it was only fair since Ben didn't have the same earning potential I did, and that family supports family. I asked if he even knew they were asking me this. They said he wasn't supposed to. Yeah, they wanted me to bankroll a 5-figure wedding in secret, so my brother wouldn't feel bad and then pretend I wasn't involved. I said no, politely at first. I even offered to give them a set amount, like, here's 2K, use it however you want. But that didn't go over well. Apparently, partial support made me stingy, ungrateful, obsessed with money. Words that definitely weren't used when I was paying off my student loans alone, while Ben lived rent-free in their house until he was 26. That's when things went from awkward to downright ugly. They disinvited me. Yup. Sent me a message, not even a call, saying it would be less stressful if I didn't come, that I'd made my priorities clear. I stared at that message for a full 5 minutes like, no way this is real. But it was. I didn't respond right away. I needed space, which apparently meant I was punishing them, because the next thing I know, I'm getting blown up in the family group chat. First, it was my aunt, then a cousin I haven't spoken to in 2 years. Why are you doing this to your brother? He deserves to have the day of his dreams. Money comes and goes, but family is forever. Oh. Now I'm family. You know what I said back? If money comes and goes, why don't you all pitch in? Silence. You could hear the group chat die in real time. Then came the breaking point. My mom sends me this long dramatic voice note about how she didn't raise me to be selfish. Said it's not about money, it's about values. Said if I ever get married, I shouldn't expect them to be there either. And that's when I finally lost it. Not because of the money, because of the hypocrisy. I've helped cover bills when my parents were short. I paid for part of Ben's college books. I even took him on a vacation last year when he said he needed a break, but because I won't pay for a wedding I'm not even invited to. Suddenly I'm evil? Nah. So I booked my own trip. Used the vacation days I was saving for the wedding, and I flew to Iceland. Rented a tiny cabin, sat in hot springs, and drank wine under the northern lights. Meanwhile, back home, the wedding went on. No private chef, no custom ice sculpture. They cut the guest list and hosted it in my aunt's backyard with a Costco cake and a Bluetooth speaker. And I wasn't there. According to another cousin, they even left a chair open for me. Honestly, that's weirdly passive-aggressive, but also kind of hilarious. Commentary moment, because yeah, Imagine thinking you're the victim while staging a silent protest with a literal empty chair. This feels like a deleted scene from a Hallmark movie, rewritten by a budget soap opera. So what happened next? Well, a few weeks after the wedding, I got an apology text. Sort of. Ben messaged me saying he didn't know the full story and that he wished things had been handled differently. He didn't say sorry, didn't offer to pay me back for anything I've covered over the years. Just said he hoped we could move forward. I left him on red. You know what I've realized? Family should be about love, not obligation. Support isn't something you demand with guilt trips and group chats. It's something you earn with respect. And if respecting myself makes me selfish, then so be it. I'd rather be alone in a hot spring in Iceland than surrounded by people who only value me when I'm paying for the party. You almost have to admire the audacity, or at least be impressed by how confidently wrong they all were. Anyway, I'm back home now, still single, still thriving. Still not paying for anyone's wedding but my own. We dated in college, nothing crazy, just one of those messy, passionate, burn too bright things. We weren't meant to last, and we didn't. But when we ran into each other at a bar, years later, it felt like unfinished business. He looked good, older obviously, more polished. He'd started a company, moved back into town, said he was single. We talked for hours, didn't even realize the bar had closed, and that should have been it. But you know how these things go. Curiosity turns into texting. Texting turns into coffee. Coffee turns into, how did this happen again? The whole time, I was under the impression we were reconnecting. A second chance. The way he talked about his life, all the ifs and some days, made it sound like he was figuring things out. No mention of a fiancé, no ring, not a single clue, until I posted a photo. It wasn't even romantic, just him holding a latte, looking like every other tech bro on Instagram. But I guess someone recognized the background, because a few hours later I got a DM. It was from her, the bride, except I didn't know she was the bride yet. Her message said, "Is this recent?" That's it. No context, no emojis, just 5 ice-cold words. And suddenly my stomach dropped. I scrolled through her profile. That's when it hit me. The engagement photos, the just said yes post from months ago, the countdown stories, the bridal shower reels. He was getting married in less than 2 weeks. I confronted him immediately. His response? It's complicated. Oh, so we're doing that now? He said the wedding had been in motion for a long time, that he didn't know how to stop it without hurting people, and that I wasn't supposed to find out like this, which is an impressive sentence when you think about it. Like, sir, you're not the victim here. You literally lied your way through 2 time zones of emotional damage. I told him we were done, blocked him on everything, took down the photo, thought that was the end of it. But that wasn't even the worst part, because she didn't just take that information and walk away quietly. She used it. Cut to wedding day. I wasn't invited, obviously, but I had mutuals who were. So when the messages started rolling in, did you know what happened? Wait, was this about you? I had no idea what they meant, until someone sent me a clip. During the ceremony, during the vows, no less, she pulls out her phone, says, "Before we make this official, I'd like to share a few things the groom forgot to mention." Then she read our texts out loud. I mean, verbatim. Flirty banter, inside jokes, screenshots of weekend plans. The latte pic made a cameo. Guests started shifting in their chairs. Some gasped. One guy straight up said, "Damn," loud enough for the mic to catch it. And the groom, he just stood there, frozen, like a man realizing he left the stove on and his life is the house. She got through maybe 5 messages before she dropped the phone and walked off. Mic still hot, vows still unspoken, groom still unmarried. Half the guests left immediately. The DJ started packing up. The cake never sliced. The venue cleared out like someone pulled the fire alarm. And me? I moved. I didn't want to be the girl from that wedding. Didn't want to run into people at the grocery store who knew me as the side piece, even though I'd had no idea he was engaged. So I packed up and left. New city, new job, new number. No contact with either of them since. Last I heard, she's back in her hometown. He, shocker, shut down his company. Honestly, the way she handled it, brutal, yes, but kind of genius. Like, if you're gonna go down, why not take the ship with you? This feels like a deleted scene from a reality show that got cancelled for being too real. Do I feel bad? A little. Not for him, not even for her really. For me. For letting someone drag me into their mess without even giving me the truth to start with. But also, she was right. The truth always comes out. And sometimes it shows up with a +1, a printed transcript, and a microphone. You're right. Let's wrap it properly. Here's the full outro in the same voice and tone. If you've made it this far into the chaos, you deserve a spa day, a nap, or both. Sweet dreams, everyone, and remember, the truth always comes out on Reddit. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story dump.